And then I always do this backwards. Let me, okay, can you see my slides? Great, and they're not in presenter view? Excellent, okay.
Perfect.
Okay, folks, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon while I talk about compassion fatigue. I think this topic is relevant any time of the year to talk about, but I do think sometimes this can get heightened during the holiday season. So today we're going to talk about how to care for yourself when you are somebody that cares for others. So what is compassion fatigue? In simple terms, it's the physical, emotional, and psychological impact of helping others. It is sometimes confused with burnout, and that's a cumulative sense of fatigue or dissatisfaction that we can experience in any area of our life. If you've got somebody maybe they're tired from working long hours, they're bored with their exercise routine, they're cramming study hours in for finals at school. Those are examples of burnout. But compassion fatigue really encompasses a more specific experience. And this is about being exposed to other people's trauma on a regular basis. Sometimes this is called secondary stress reaction or vicarious trauma. Those of you know that anytime I present, the farm animals are going to make a little visit to the slide. So this is Barry, our farm mascot, wearing a little holiday Santa outfit for us. So in terms of common triggers for compassion fatigue, this is definitely not an exhaustive list, but I included ones that we're going to most likely encounter on a regular basis, the folks in this call. So if you provide care to people with depression, that puts you at risk for developing compassion fatigue. If you provide care to people that share their trauma with you, or they're experiencing grief, that can affect your experience with compassion fatigue. If you work with people that experience suicidality, that directly affects you. If you experience harmful threats on the job, or if you provide care in dangerous situations, I don't know, maybe during a pandemic, that can increase your chances of developing compassion fatigue. And then this last one almost feels laughable to me. But if you have a heavy workload or caseload, or if you have a demanding job or work long hours, you guessed it, you are at risk of compassion fatigue. Unfortunately, I forget that our ECHO participants often don't have a lot of hands raised because we can't see each other's videos. So show of hands, maybe you can click on the little Zoom thing that puts your hands in the corner of your square. Show of hands, how many of you have experienced any on this list anytime recently? Oh, shoot, I'm seeing thumbs ups, I'm seeing handshakes, I'm seeing hands. Yep, that's not surprising to me. Oh my gosh, look at that, there's so much yellow. I'm so glad that we're here together to sort of appreciate that together and support each other with that. We'll talk about that in a minute. So compassion fatigue occurs when these triggers, the experiences, they're starting to affect your thoughts, they're affecting your mood, and they're affecting your well-being outside of work. Now, being affected by your work is a normal part of caregiving professions, but it's when that feeling becomes overwhelming that you might be experiencing compassion fatigue. So common symptoms of compassion fatigue can include mood swings or general symptoms of depression and anxiety, feeling detached from certain areas of your life, an increased use of substance use or increased use of substances to kind of help wind down or to help sleep or to sort of meet some other behavioral need from it. When you're feeling just a general lack of motivation or feeling productive at home or at work, issues with sleep, and then general physical symptoms such as fatigue, headache, GI issues, stuff like that. And again, this list is not exhaustive. And while these symptoms can sometimes really feel debilitating in the moment, there are steps that you can take to take care of yourself. Recognizing the steps recognizing the signs when they're happening, taking proactive preventative measures, seeking treatment can help. And in fact, I think that being a part of this group, coming to ECHO every couple of weeks and getting to learn alongside each other, getting to present difficult cases alongside each other, this is one way that we can help ourselves. The hope is that you saw people's hands raised, those of us that had their cameras on, or you saw people's Zoom hands or thumbs up. The hope is that you saw your fellow colleagues do the same and that you got some validation in that moment and recognition that you are not alone. Since we're in this fight together, the hope is that we can then be a part of the healing process together. So what do we do? How do we help ourselves? We do that with self-care. We accept the responsibility of taking care of ourselves emotionally, physically, spiritually, and socially, so that we can continue to be present in our lives the way we want to be. So there's proactive or preventative measures you can take. This would be things like getting regular sleep, following up on doctor's appointments, taking medication that you're prescribed, etc. And then there's in the moment tactics you can take. Examples of this would be getting up from your desk and maybe taking a walk when you realize you need a pick-me-up, maybe eating nourishing foods when you realize you're hungry, or texting a friend when you need a laugh. But this is my favorite, one of my favorite memes about self-care essentials. I love that they suggest hobbies and quiet time, adequate sleep, muzzles for your family, trank darts for your neighbors, an entire cheesecake, that one's my favorite, a crown made of dollar bills, a kitten dispenser, or I would argue a hog dispenser or goat dispenser. 5 miles between you and anyone else, because that's why I live on a farm. And then if all else fails, a scented candle. So types of self-care fall into these categories, either physical, emotional, social, or spiritual. I'm going to highlight a few here that we humans aren't always the best at doing, and then also mention a few that really make a big difference for me. So on the physical side, an example of this would be just plain old rest. We humans are not the best at resting, and I will argue that our society really breeds us to be multitaskers. We tell ourselves that we're going to lay on the couch and we're going to veg out and watch our favorite, easy TV show for the next half hour. But while we're doing that, we also have our phone in our hand. We're scrolling through social media. We're fielding texts from colleagues about something happened earlier in the day. We're adding items to our grocery list. We're ordering something from Prime. And we're glancing at news sites. And we're doing this all at a time when we're actually supposed to be resting. So resting is really finding a place of stillness, either mentally or physically, and preferably unplugged at times. So maybe it's locking yourself in your closet with a book and earplugs so you can't hear your family or your dog barking in the other room. Maybe it's taking that dog for a walk, but actually leaving your phone at home. So something where you can either unplug a part of your body, if it's your body or your brain, that you can just wind down a little bit. I think us healthcare providers on here, we're pretty good at knowing emotional self-care strategies that we want to use for ourselves and we want to talk with our patients about, especially therapy. But an emotional self-care ritual that I think sometimes gets overlooked is being organized. So the sort of art of organization really allows us we can use that to kind of figure out what it is that we need to do to take care of ourselves. So a small change like keeping a planner or a calendar on your fridge. You can write down your responsibilities and appointments, your family's responsibilities and appointments, if that's applicable for you. And it can kind of give you the bigger picture of what's needed. So for me, I call it my old lady planner because I still write stuff down. My planner is really helpful for me because I have everything written down. And I can look at the beginning of the week and see if I have too much ink on here, if there are too many things written down, then I have probably overextended myself. And so my personal goal is to go to a week in my planner where I can give myself some more break. And if I haven't, then it's my responsibility to go, okay, I've given myself too long of a day on Tuesday. I'm going to either have to cancel something or I'm going to have to make sure that I take time for a walk or lunch. It's kind of my visual cue of what do I need to do to take care of myself that day. For social, one of the biggest struggles for a lot of us is to set boundaries and specifically saying no. I think learning to say no is really hard. A lot of us feel obligated to say yes when somebody asks for our time and energy because we want to be of help. That's why we got in this helping field. And again, I think especially around the holidays, people really struggle with this. We feel obligated to go to all of the things in order to please our family members or our coworkers. If we're already anxious or we're already kind of overworked, then saying yes is going to continue to lead to that burnout and that anxiety. So knowing ways and sort of learning ways to say no that fit you and fit your style. And then lastly is spiritual. An example of this that's really important for me is to getting out to nature. So spending time outside can help reduce your stress. It can help lower your blood pressure, be more connected to the present moment. There's info in the references slide that supports this. Studies show getting outside can help reduce fatigue, and it can make it a great way to overcome some symptoms of depression or burnout and compassion fatigue. Also, it can help you sleep better at night, especially if you're doing some sort of physical activity while you're out there. So practicing self-care isn't always easy. The healthcare field is busy, it's stressful, it's overwhelming. Me time is sometimes last on the agenda. And then worse, we end up feeling guilty about taking the time required to take care of ourselves. And so while that can be hard for us to find that extra time, it's also really important to plan regular self-care time. Schedule it into your time, just like you schedule this echo session every other week, and then guard that time. I'll be honest, I don't actually love this graphic when we talk about self-care. For some people, setting up this quote unquote goal of self-care actually defeats the purpose. But I can appreciate that some people actually respond to having like a specific and measurable activity. And it does help to think about sort of creating a realistic goal for ourselves for self-care. So if you are somebody that currently struggles with finding time for self-care, then I would suggest your first step care goal not to be, okay, I'm going to meditate for 60 minutes, 7 days a week. That's probably not realistic. I'm not sure you'll get there. And then you'll end up beating yourselves up in the process. So start small. Starting small, I think building in self-care strategies that are meaningful to you or give you reasons to want to be meaningful to you, I think are important. So think about your sort of personal reasons for wanting to practice self-care. So for example, around mid-March is when I will start to see some of those get your summer body ready slogans on social media, and I cannot stand them. I can appreciate that some people are motivated to exercise due to the appearance factor. It's good for them, more power to them. For me, if that's the reason I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to skip out going to the gym all week because I just don't care. However, for me, I recognize that exercising, moving regularly makes me feel a lot better just energetically and actually helps me better at work. That's going to be the thing that's going to get me out of the bed in the morning. So it's about finding the reason that you want to participate in that self-care strategy and not because somebody else told you to. Same thing if we think about the self-care practices that you want to get into, think about ones that you're actually going to enjoy and not just because TikTok told you that you should do it. So I had a friend once who tried to attempt me to teach me how to knit. It's really her self-care strategy. She loves it. She finds it very kind of methodical and soothing. And so she wanted to share this great activity with me. And about 30 minutes into this practice, I wanted to stab one of my eyes out with the knitting needles. It was the opposite of soothing and relaxing for me. However, for me, if I put some hiking boots on and I go outside, even in crappy weather, I'm going to feel better afterwards. So it's about you trying out a couple of different things, finding the thing that works for you. A part of a healthy self-care routine is checking in with yourself, throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month. Learn to recognize when you're feeling your best and then what you've done to kind of lead up to that feeling, what's helped encourage that feeling. And learn to recognize when you're feeling empty, when your battery is at its last few percentages, and then what's happened to contribute to that draining feeling. We've talked about ways of practicing self-care with both your personal and professional life, but let's also talk specifically about the workplace and about ways that we can both receive and offer support there. You're going to hear me call out a few of my colleagues, so fair warning. There's a lot of things we can do to create a sense of community where we work. And I think one of those, one of the ways that we do that is the way that we interact with our peers. So Dr. Zhang, I'm actually not sure he's on the call this afternoon, but when I see him walking down the hallway, he always stops and says hello to me and asks me how I'm doing. Even when I can tell he's busy, even when I can tell he's like on his way to go upstairs or on his way to sort of take care of a crisis here, he will lock eyes with me and say, "Hey, Katie, how are you doing? It's good to see you." I'm terribly guilty. If I can walk down the hallway and I'm multitasking, I'm trying to text because I'm going to try to find a doc to help me with this, or I'm trying to take care of this crisis. And I'm also on my way to take 2 seconds to go to the bathroom or get coffee. And I can walk by the hallway and actually pass people and not make eye contact to them. That's not helpful. That's not community building. And Dr. Zhang is great about that. So there's ways that we can interact with our peers to contribute to that sense of community. Tony is the same way. Tony DiGiacchio, who I think is on this call, she is fantastic about always offering to help. When there is something that is not in her job description or is not on her task for the day, if she sees or hears one of us need something, she'll say, oh, I've got some free time. Can I help with that? Or, you know what, let me look into that further for you. She's always about jumping in and asking for help. And that makes me feel safe to go to her to ask for help. And I really appreciate that about her. I think participating in some type of supervision or consultation alongside your colleagues is another great way to connect with each other. When we are in the sessions and we're opening up about our own experiences, especially our stressful or our tough experiences, it sort of models for other people that it's okay to talk about it and that we should talk about it. To me, it's a little similar to what takes place in the peer recovery meetings that we send our patients to. So allowing your peers to support you is a roundabout way of supporting them. And you modeling for them, vulnerability and sort of asking for help and admitting to mistakes that we've made, that gives them the same license to do the same. And so in those supervision or consultation sessions, we want to give our colleagues permission to give us feedback. So a few weeks ago, I don't think I saw him on the call, but Dr. Houston and I were working together in a new capacity. And immediately afterwards, he reached out for feedback he wanted to feedback on his part to see if there was something that he could have done differently. That immediately showed me that he was really open to a collaborative relationship. And it also encouraged me to do the same. I didn't have any feedback for him. He did awesome, but it helped me go, hey, you know what, let me ask for the same thing. Is there anything I could have done differently? So it's those collaborations, I think, that create community. And then one of the qualities I really respect most in my colleagues is when they see a need in the workplace and they don't just talk about it, they do something about it. So Sarah Leifheit, she's one of our fantastic therapists. I'm not sure if she's on the call or not. She recognized that our therapist group is really having some struggling moments lately. We're trying to kind of navigate our own personal feelings regarding so many social justice issues that are happening right now. And we're trying to do that alongside sort of navigating our own patients' feelings and responses and trying to figure out where's our ethical responsibility of remaining neutral or being an advocate. It's a lot to balance out. And she saw this was a need, so she created a social impacts on treatment consultation group that initially meets monthly, and it's now spread to kind of other ways we connect. She's got this database with information that she puts on there that we can look at anytime. So she saw a need and she made it happen, and that felt so supportive. And then finally, one of the ways that we can show up for ourselves and our colleagues is to take care of ourselves. So self-care isn't just a suggested response to compassion fatigue, it's our ethical duty. The Social Work Code of Ethics actually added it to their code. It's during the pandemic times, and it was sort of added as a response to it. I think it was like as soon as COVID hit. I feel like maybe it was that May of 2020, but please don't quote me on that. But so I'd like to see some of the other ethical codes added as well. I typically share this slide with an updated goat Santa picture anytime I talk about standards of practice, and I'm going to keep sharing it because I think the message is really important. So as providers, we will make mistakes because we're human. And as providers, we may want to help everybody that we can, but we got to accept that that's not possible. As providers, we cannot know everything and we can't expect ourselves to, which is why we want to continue our learning journey every day. And as providers, we cannot and should not do this tough work alone. We really need and deserve the support of our colleagues and our peers in the field. So I'll open it up to you all, our audience. What have you reflected on, either regarding your own experience with compassion fatigue? And then what's one takeaway lesson or technique or something that you want to incorporate into your, personal and professional practice today? And I'll stop sharing so I can see everybody.
Thank you so much again, Katie. Always do such a great job. You're so warm too and great to listen to. So appreciate it. Thank you. Does anybody want to answer a couple of those questions and kind of share their thoughts?
Also, I'm always trying to steal from other people. So the things that you're doing for yourself regarding, you know, honoring compassion fatigue, I'd love to hear that because I might want to steal your ideas.
One thing my wife and I started doing anyways is, so we're always on our phones all the time, obviously, so you mentioned that. So we try to stay off our phones. We better go to bed about 10 o'clock. So from like 8:30 and 10 o'clock, we don't use our phones at all, which I think help us sleep personally, but no one talk
Yeah,
about that. But
Jordan, I love that. That is a great suggestion. You know, I similarly, I think I started to, I am a people pleaser in recovery. Some days I'm pretty good at setting boundaries with it. Some days I'm terrible. When I take time off, I'm sometimes not great about, I still want to be like a phone call away for people in case they need my help. And so if you have an iPhone, I'm sure probably Androids do this too, but on iPhone, you can set your, if you put it in driving mode, you can set it to where it will send an automatic response. And so when I am on vacation or outside and I can't be disturbed or don't want to be disturbed, I'll have a little, it sends an automated thing that just says, I'm not working today, or I think I change it sometimes, but it will say something like, I'm not at work today. This is a work-related issue. Please reach out to my supervisor. And that has helped me put my phone away and set it down and not kind of be checking to see if I've missed something because somebody needs my help. So Jordan, great suggestion of just like, that is literally unplugging. Who else? What else?
Hi, Katie.
Hi, Nikki. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Well, I miss coming with Tony to your place.
Yeah. We're still here cruising along. But
Good.
so a couple of things that I've done is turned off like all the notifications on my phone so that you don't get any of those little red like things. So then I only get on apps that like when I want to, not because I'm pulled to.
Yes, great idea.
And then I use the focus. If you have an iPhone, there's like that focus. I don't think that's quite what you were talking about before, but maybe
it's
it is.
It's one of those similar settings that
Kind of a
like,
similar, yeah. So like when I'm at work, like it says to people like, hey, I'm at work, like, you know, or I'm at home, so don't text me now.
Yes,
and that's just been really helpful to like do that.
Yeah, Meetstra said that she uses that too, and
Yeah.
just in case you don't, you can choose kind of the out, you know, it'll automatically go from such and such time to such and such time.
Yep.
It's very
Wonderful.
helpful for me.
Yeah, agreed. Great idea, Nikki. It's a way of kind of setting that boundary of like, this is work mode, I can't talk about this, or this is home mode, I'm not going to talk about work. I love that. Thanks for sharing that. Who else? What else?
Well, you guys keep talking. This is Fred, by the way.
Hey, Fred. Good to see you.
You too. You guys keep talking about your phones. For me, it's getting on the Harley and just going for a ride, and just being out, and just come back. Sometimes my wife gets mad because I don't let her know I'm leaving and just need to go for a ride. She's like, "Well, you could have come and got me," and I'm like, "Well, no, you didn't wear boots today, so you can't." But you know, that's my little freedom to just clear my mind.
Yeah, Fred, I love that. What do you think that it is about that for you? Yeah, just really decompresses things for you. Well,
it's like you said, going out in nature, you know, it's just the wind in your face, just the freedom of the road, really, man. You know, it's just nice and peaceful to me.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people don't think it's peaceful because some of the Harleys are too loud, but you know, I'm okay with that.
And probably for you, it's another forced unplugging time, right? Because you can't be on your Harley. I mean, I hope you're not on your Harley and also texting. Yeah.
No earbuds. If I have the phone on, it's playing music. So that's it.
Oh, that's
I don't
awesome.
accept any calls.
Oh, Fred, thanks for sharing that.
Yes, ma'am.
It's good to see you.
You too.
So mine is going to 12-step meetings and practicing martial arts. I enjoy both those things.
Dr. Gorby, I'm already thinking about a way that you can incorporate martial arts into an echo presentation. I feel like there's a way. So I'm gonna be thinking on that.
I love it.
Yeah, I feel like we can make that happen. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, going to meetings, getting to be, gosh, connecting to people. You know, side note, I teach a addictions course for the university, and one of their assignments is that they have to go to peer recovery meetings. And it's the assignment that 95% of the time it's the one they do not want to do. And 95% of the time it's the one afterwards that they will say was the most impactful. You know, these are folks who have not, most of them have not been to a meeting before, and they will talk about that most of them ended up sort of crying in this meeting of strangers that they had not met before. They found it just such an impactful experience. Thanks for
Thank you very
sharing.
much.
Oh my gosh, thank you for sharing that. Anybody else, any ideas you want to share with your group that's really impactful for you, or anything that now that you've heard great ideas from your peers, you want to maybe take a few of them for a spin around these holiday weeks?
If I could take Fred's motorcycle for a spin, that'd be awesome.
I
No.
don't know how you feel about loaning out his Harley, but
I like to reorganize my Blu-ray and DVD collection.
that feels very like black, white, clean, like feels so nice. There is a beginning and an end to that.
Yeah, I do it alphabetically by genre and series.
Oh my gosh. Every time, or like sometimes you do it alphabetically, sometimes you do it by this?
Every time, but it kind of
Yeah.
shifts in the way that I put them on the shelves. Or if I get things new, then I have to shift everything to make it new ones fit. And
Sure.
I feel like a
Okay.
librarian.
That sounds very soothing to me, actually. Yeah. Well, any other ideas going once? Twice? Okay, thanks so much for what you shared
Wait,
with your
I
group.
think Richard, did you unmute? Sorry, it's my eyes. Did you
My
unmute,
fault, I
Richard?
missed
Did
that.
you want to add on to this?
Not sure if it's helpful or not, but I think when people are talking about New Year's and resolutions and talking about going out and doing things, over the years, training people to do marathons and doing them, one of the things that you want to do is you want to have it convenient, consistent, controlled, and comfortable. If you miss any of those things, you're not going to keep it up, because if it's
Oh, I
not
love that.
convenient, you don't do it. If it's not
Yep.
controlled, you basically hurt yourself. If you're not running to comfort, you're doing, if you have to stay within a comfort range, train to pain is not exactly the way to go. And
Yeah.
finishing a marathon is not finishing a marathon. It's finishing a marathon so you can run tomorrow, not that you just ran today. So I don't know if that's helpful or not, but just
I love that. What is it again? I want to put those in the chat box. Convenient.
you want to be convenient, consistent, comfortable, and controlled. You can do it in any order you want, but if you're missing any of those elements, the chances of you continuing it are very limited.
Yeah.
We
I
have a
love
lot
that.
of
Thank
things, a lot of exercise equipment are used as clothes racks.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. I want to remember. Those are the 4 C's. I'm going to remember those. Thank you. Great. All right, gang, thanks for the ideas. I'm not sure I will try the Harley riding, but some of the other ideas I will for sure try. Only for safety reasons, Fred. It's no judgment. I think it's great. I'm just sure I would break my hip and my other hip. So
Actually, well, since my feet became bad, I switched my motorcycles to my truck. I bought a trike instead, so you don't have to worry about falling off of.
I didn't think about that.
So
Well, I changed my mind then. All right, that's my speech.
Excellent. Can you guys hear me? Okay, I know somebody was having audio issues, but can you hear me? You guys are like in and out for me a lot. Perfect.
Yep.
Great. Awesome. Well, that was excellent. Thanks for the ideas. I would love to do some martial arts. I think that would be calming. I am like the opposite of calm. If I go get a massage, I feel like I have to talk the entire time. So I need all the help in the world to try and relax.
Yeah.
I can't do it. It's so hard for me. So yeah, but self-care is so important and you can't give your best self without it. So my self-care is skincare and playing video games. But again, my mind's always on. I am not an off kind of person. So that is something I've been trying to work on. myself. So maybe martial arts or yoga or something
Right on.
can calm my mind. But yeah, I think self-care is very important. This is an excellent talk, and I think we all are guilty in any field we're in to have, you know, in relationships, even compassion fatigue. So I think it's really important to like reflect upon that and, you know, be patient with yourself and others when you are experiencing those kind of emotions. I think we all can get there. I'd get there with my husband. I love him, but you know.
Yeah.
Teacher's laughing. But we really love and enjoy all of you guys so much. I just want to say we really do appreciate it. I've really grown like listening to you guys discuss these topics too. And this is our last session for the year. So the next time we